Right. Well, this is an interesting one. This is my folly, I suppose is what you'd call it. I got this last winter from a friend of mine. It came in pieces, the engine was out, the frame... Oh no, the frame, the engine was resting in the frame, but there's nothing bolted in. Some guy started to chop the frame. He'd cut off all the metal and then half, I think, welded in one or two pieces, but most of it was held together by a rope. It was extraordinary. It was an amazing construction, and somehow it didn't fall apart when you sat on it. I guess he just wanted to see how it would look. So I got it, and the first thing I did was I finished welding the frame, and I made these little housings for the top shock mounts because they weren't there. The shocks were held on with a piece of bar that was roped across the seat. Yeah, I made these up for it. The mudguard supports. There's no mudguard on it. It's a Kawasaki KZ750 frame, I think. I'm just doing the front mudguard now, which is where the brake line supports have been taken off. The exhaust system I bought off eBay. It was supposed to be for a CB750, but it didn't actually fit because it didn't straddle the kickstand, which is something else I have to modify. So I've modified the exhaust system quite extensively to make it fit, which it does now. But anyway, the major issue with this bike was it just wasn't running very well. The oil tank was getting... I noticed this was getting super hot. I'd rebuilt the carbs. I'd made one good set from two, cleaned everything up, all nice and clean inside, balanced as close as I could get them. I threw new plugs in, set the timing. I wouldn't say I set the timing. You know, it was a quick lick and a promise type valve type, ignition timing setup, because I wanted to get it going basically. But anyway, it just didn't go very well, and I was very very perplexed. Nothing you could put your finger on. You know, it would start, nice quiet motor, no rattles, no clicks, and it would rev, give it a bit of gas, and it would pick up nicely. But it just felt flat. It was a funny one, and I thought, well, maybe it's just because I'm not used to these old 750 Hondas. It's been years since I rode them before. So I thought, well, maybe it's just the motor. Maybe I'm just used to something, being more powerful these days. But then I was comparing it with my Triumph. I mean, my old Bonneville, which is a 750, it would have walked away from it. So I thought, nah, this can't be right. This was supposed to be quite a fast bike in its day. So I looked into it, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I'd find, which is why I haven't filmed it. But basically, underneath here, in the centre, there's a sprocket. There's a camshaft with a sprocket on it, and there's a chain that runs down to a sprocket on the crankshaft. And as the engine's spinning, it turns the camshaft. And what I found was that the alignment was out. It was one tooth retarded. So basically, the valve timing was just slightly retarded. It wasn't syncing properly with the pistons, not to the manufacturer's spec. The other thing I did check, I thought, first of all, actually, I thought because it was running warm and just a bit flat, I thought maybe it's the jetting. So I put bigger main jets in. So I put 135s in there. I think originally it was 115s. Didn't really make any difference. Actually, didn't make any difference at all. It's just the same. I mean, it's exactly the same. So I knew then that it was something else. So I investigated. Found that the valve timing was retarded. I also found that the advanced retard unit, it's got two sets of contacts in there. It's an old-fashioned system, two contact breaker sets, and a spinning cam that opens and closes them to fire the ignition. And the cam has an advanced retard unit, which is two little bob weights that fly out and advance the timing as the engine revs. That was fine. It was working as it should, but where it located into the crankshaft, there's a little drilling in the end of the crankshaft where a dimple in the advanced retard unit it slots in, and it was worn oval. So the whole thing was actually, you could move it like 5 degrees backwards and forwards. And on the end of it, it's a nut, and you use the nut to crank the engine over as you do the timing, because you turn the engine over, you can see where the cams just start to lift the points open. And what I found was that when you turned it with the nut, it was actually over-advancing the ignition timing. So between the over-advanced ignition timing and the retarded valve timing, it was not a happy bunny. And so I addressed the valve timing issue by moving the chain one tooth. I had to take the tension off, and then when it was slack I managed to move the chain. And then this one I had to set it without using the nut on the end. I cranked it over using the kickstart and or the back wheel, and got the timing set that way, and I got it on pretty much on the money. I did all the valve clearances just to be on the safe side, cleaned all the plugs, just checked everything over, put it all back together again. Oh my god, what a difference! It's a completely different bike. It sounds just like it did before, but as soon as I started it, I could feel that the response was instantaneous. It just wanted to pick up really quickly. And I just rode it down the driveway and back, and already I can tell there's way more power, so I'm hoping I've nailed that. But it was an interesting one. I think a lot of guys that have these old 750 Hondas might not realise that you can have a bike that seems to be running fairly well, but not perfectly, and I don't know what it is, it's just one of those niggling problems that you can't really sort of solve without really getting into it. So, and the only way really was to sort of think, well, maybe there is an issue here. I had no idea if that was the problem, but I investigated, a little bit of research investigation, and sure enough, two contributing issues to that problem, and it's a different bike. So I'm glad I got that sorted out.